Hi crew, it's that time of the month again, completed pages video, so let's get into it. First page I did was in Flowers and Animals. This is the second page I have done in this book. I really like this book. The paper is really nice. That Japanese paper is always beautiful, nice and smooth, but takes water mediums perfectly. So this page here, I threw a little bit of everything at it. Started off by doing the background with Neocolor 2s, but everything else I based with watercolors. I then went in there with some acrylic markers. Also you can see the gold, hopefully you can see the gold on the tips of the flowers here, and also on the cactus here, I put some gold dots. I use my Prismacolors as well as my Inktense just to fill it out, and then also decided to go over most of the lines with some gel pens. Mostly use my Jelly Rolls, and the yellow here is actually a Posca, but the rest are Jelly Rolls. The colors are really different than the normal color combinations I've used before, and I think they worked out really well. I wouldn't really usually put this like bright orangey color with the bright pink and the green and then the dark background. It's not something that I would usually do, but I actually think it turned out really well. So one of my favorites for this month, that one. I also did a page in Dark Dolls Special by Yuriko Shiro. This is one of my favorite Colouring Heaven books I have got. Her work is absolutely beautiful. So creepy, but the pictures are gorgeous. So my first page I've done in this book, because it was a little bit intimidating because it's such a beautiful book, is this one just here. The paper's pretty rubbish in these magazines. So I started off by putting down golden satin glazing liquid because I knew that I wanted to use watercolor. And then I did this little bit up here with the watercolor and got cranky with myself. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but you can see the lines that I used with the paintbrush when I put the golden satin glazing liquid on, and it frustrated me. So I actually ended up closing this up, and that was about 2 to 3 months ago. And I've just come back to it now and thought, no, I can fix it up. And I don't think the lines look so bad because of the type of picture it is, because it's kind of a bit grungy. So I came in with some Inktense pencils just to add in a little bit more colour at the edges here. I also did a little bit of watercolour when I first started, just on these chest pieces here. And then the rest of it, I just went in with Prismacolor and filled it in, a little bit of Inktense. I wanted to cover up most of the lines, and I wanted to keep the colours really dull and grungy. So that's why the colours are very muted, except for I wanted these little ladybugs to be quite bright, and I think it needed a little bit of fluoro just to make it pop in places. That's why I put some fluoro here on the mushrooms. I went around her with white gel pen because I just thought she needed to pop a little bit from the background, but I tried to make it all look a little bit dirty and a little bit like not very inviting to be there. I think it worked out pretty well. It's a pretty spooky picture, so pretty happy with how it worked out. Even though this is quite creepy, I still think she is like very beautiful. I also did Wild and Nature, I think it's called, and this was my first page in here as well. Just this one here. It's not usually the type of picture I colour in. I will usually go for something with something going on in it, not just a nature picture, but I thought I'll get onto it and do it, and I really enjoyed it. I started off by doing the actual picture part, just basing it all with light watercolour, and then went in with some Prismacolor to darken it all out. This here kind of looked like a bit of a blob, so I tried really hard to make sure it looked like it had different layers to it. I added in a gel pen here on all the highlights and then try to make the shadows really, really deep so they kind of taper off into a lighter color. I think it worked out pretty well. It does show a bit of depth. And then I did the same in the trees a little bit. Got some acrylic marker down here just to make the leaves, just to make the grass here because it was pretty bland and plain. I put the clouds in with acrylic marker just so it's really thick and it covered up all the lines. And then decided that after I'd finished it that it did need a background because I was going to leave it without a background, but it just didn't look good. So I ended up doing the background with just Prismacolor and I just went over the top of it with a blender pencil. So I think it worked out pretty well. Added a couple of white dots up here. Also used a bit of white gel pen just to create this appearance of running water for the waterfall. And for some reason I decided it'd be a great idea to put some green dots here, and I'm not a lover of that. So I wish I hadn't, but I think if you look at it quick enough, you can't see them. But the rest of it I think worked out really well. I love the colors going on here and I love how it blends down into the green. So pretty happy with that. I also did a page in World Literature by Erie, and this is my first page in this book and first page in any Erie book. So I think it worked out well. This paper's beautiful. It can take anything. So I started off with doing watercolor, mostly basing everything with a bit of watercolor. Then came in with some Prismacolor and just kind of accentuated the lines here with the purpley color just to, because it was just more or less a plain blend, but I wanted it to look a little bit different. So that's why I did this here. And then also a little bit of gold in just little places to set it off a little bit. I love the way I did these flowers here. The colors I used worked really, really well. And I wanted these colors to kind of work into overall the picture. So that's why I kind of did the birds in similar colors to this like deep teal and magenta color. I outlined everything that you can see is outlined is done with Jelly Roll gel pens. And then I did these two sections here. I wanted to do the animals in a kind of sepia kind of look. I tried, I don't know, it was a bit of a miss, but I didn't want them to take over. I just wanted them to be in the background. So I do like the way it worked. The color combination I really, really like. And yeah, for my first page in Erie, I loved coloring in this book. The paper is beautiful and pretty stoked with the result. I also colored a page in The Explorer's Journey by David Habban. If you haven't seen or heard of this book before, the paper is spot on. I love it. It is very thick. You can use watercolor on it without any problems. One-sided, which is amazing. And it's kind of got a little bit of grain on it as well, which is beautiful. So the page I did in here is this one here. Nice and bright. I started off with watercolor and colored the whole background with watercolor. Then colored this sea area with granulating watercolor, but it didn't work very well because it was like a bluey that granulated into like a bronze, and it just didn't work the whole thing. So I went over the top of it, but if you look closely, you can see some bronze underneath, and that's what that was from. But I actually think it works really well. So I just went over with the pencil, Prismacolor, and you can see, if you have a look, you can actually see the lines in there. That's from the beautiful texture in the paper. I also went over all the lines with Jelly Roll. I used acrylic marker to cover up all these lines and make my clouds. As much as I love this book, I don't love, if I can show you, there is a lot of line work everywhere, especially in like the sky pictures like this here. There's so much, see all these things here, all these lines here. I just traced over the top of the lines. I would have much rather them not to be in there. I don't like all the line work that he puts in all the skies. It's annoying. But apart from that, I love his work. This book is like a little story. You start from the front and it's this man's journey. And then you also start from the back and it is a lady's journey, this lady here. And if you go through from the back to the front, in the middle, they meet up. So it's a really cool concept. I love that about it. But back to my page. Sorry, I've gone off on a rant. Yes, so this lady here that's in the boat was not a silhouette, but I thought it would look really cool and make her stand out more if she was a silhouette. So I just coloured that all in black to make it look like a silhouette, and I think it worked out really well to make her pop. Otherwise, I think she might have got lost in the picture a little bit. And just down here, there's a cheeky little fish. And this fish kind of goes through the pages quite a bit. So you'll see pops up here and a big pops up there. So it's a really cool book, really cool concept. If you can get your hands on it, I strongly suggest to go for it, but it is out of print and it's really, really hard to find. The next book I did was Escape to Oz. Some of you might have seen this because I actually did a video on myself collaging this. So this is my project book. I'm trying really hard to get collage on every single page. First one I did was just this one here, collage the full page, because when I was collaging this page here, I actually had to cut the page underneath, which doesn't bother me because I'll just fill it up with another collage. So this collage is something a little bit different. I wanted to make sure it was still on the Wizard of Oz theme, but a little bit different. So it's a pot of stew or meatballs, you might say, and they are trying to make their way through on their boat or their raft. And there's a big octopus in there and he has stolen a munchkin. And if you have a look, he is wrapping his arms around here and trying to wrap his arms around these guys. So he's trying to eat them. I think that turned out pretty good. And then the other one I did was a double page spread. Just this one here, which is of the Emerald City. I coloured in all this side and then collaged in these big leaves here with the tree trunk here. Completely collaged this in here to make it look like it's inside the Emerald City in a room, and then had them on a tree so it looks like they're balancing, trying to get in here, and then added this little guard on here that's telling them to stop. This big guard here that I collaged in is also pointing at them and telling them to stop. And I really enjoyed doing this page and I think it comes across really well. Although I didn't enjoy colouring in so much green, I get really bored colouring the same colour over and over again. Even if it's different tones of the same colour, it is not my love. I cannot do this, and mandalas do my head in. I can't do mandalas either. It's just too repetitive, and I felt like that here. So I probably could have worked more here and put more depth into stuff, but I was getting a little bit over it, and I'm not going to make myself not enjoy colouring because I do it for enjoyment. So I just stopped, and I just think it still looks fine. I don't think that you would have noticed any different. So that's that page. And this month, I am going to do another couple of collages in here, and I will also do a video. If you missed my first video of me collaging those two pages, I will add the link in my description and you can hunt that down and have a look at that. I also coloured a page in A Million Little Monsters by Lulu Mayo. This one hurt my brain. So I started this off a couple of months ago too. I coloured in the dragon, which I absolutely loved, but then had no idea of what colour to do the rest in. There's so much business going on. This is my first Lulu Mayo page I've ever coloured in, and it is complicated. So much going on in there. I try to make, I don't know if you can see the gold in there, but I thought that it might look good if I make these look like little kind of caves and have some gold in there. And I've tried to make these bits look a little bit like crystals. I hope it's come across. It's not my favorite page. I think my problem is I didn't start with a colour combination or a color theme. I just kind of started doing it and went for it. And usually when that happens, it kind of works out like a big mess. Some colors get lost in there. Some things get, like this one here, gets a little bit lost. But I think it came across okay, nice and bright. It's super happy, and it was fun to do with all the highlighter. Also did a page in this book, which is another one of my project books. It's a complete width book, which means I work on all different pages all the time. I've got just little bits and bobs done on certain pages, and everything's kind of nearly there but not there. I just do it as I go. Finish this page here. I started off by colouring most of this in with acrylic marker. Definitely these two characters. This is all acrylic marker, and some of the bushes here acrylic marker. Then I went in with some Prismacolor and just added a little bits of depth to where the acrylic marker work is. And then this here, I was not sure if this was a waterfall or it was a mountain, but I decided to make it into a waterfall, and I thought it worked out pretty well. So I used Posca to make this look. I just kind of added the Posca on there and just used my finger and pulled it down and just did more and more layers, so it kind of looked like it was the white froth on top of a waterfall. So I think it actually worked okay. It's the first time I've done that type of waterfall, and I'm not too unhappy with it. I thought it worked all right. You can definitely tell it's a waterfall, so that's a win for me. And that's everything that I coloured, but I've also started sketching. I'm not the best at sketching, but I've started a travel sketchbook. So I've done this first page here. I was away with my family camping, and that's where I did this. So I've got a new little travel watercolor set, and I used this on here, and I think it worked pretty well. So I'm just going to start using this to color in my surroundings, have a little bit of writing about what's going on. I am going to Japan in a couple of months, and so I'm going to take this to Japan too and try and do some sketches there. It's quite thick, so I'll just keep going until it's full, and I might even though I'm thinking I want to sketch the front of my house, and I might put that in there. Might sketch the rooms in my house and put that in there. So it's not like sketch anything, but it's more of like a travel sketchbook. So I'm looking forward to doing more in that as well. So if you stuck to the end, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, see you later. Bye.